He looks at his bank account. Empty, again. And yet he has done everything they told him to do. He wrote affirmations. He visualized checks arriving in the mail. He even tried saying, "I am wealthy" in the mirror every morning. But the truth? Nothing has changed. This is the brutal reality that few dare to admit. Most who try the so-called law of attraction remain stuck, broke, frustrated, and secretly ashamed. They wonder if maybe they are cursed, or if they simply weren't born lucky. But Neville Goddard's words cut through the illusion. He exposed the real reason people fail, and the truth is not comfortable, because wishing is weakness, hoping is hesitation, and desire, no matter how intense, does not create anything at all. The universe does not respond to begging. It does not answer the one who says, "I want." It only mirrors back the one who assumes. Neville said it clearly. You must assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Not tomorrow. Not when circumstances improve. Now. And this is why so many remain broke. They think wanting money is the same as creating it. But the man who only wants, who only dreams, keeps confirming he does not yet have. And consciousness always returns the echo. More lack, more emptiness, more waiting. This video is not here to comfort you. It is here to confront you, to reveal why you are still stuck even after years of manifesting, and to show you how to finally unlock the wealth state that Neville taught. Because there is a difference between playing with imagination and living from imagination. There is a difference between begging for change and being the change. If you are ready to stop pretending and start transforming, then listen carefully. Each chapter will strip away illusion and replace it with truth. The truth Neville Goddard whispered decades ago. The truth most still ignore today. This is not motivation. This is not positive thinking. This is law. And the law says, you are not broke because life is unfair. You are broke because of the state you are living in. And when you change the state, you change the life. The open wound. Why you're still broke. He wakes up with the same weight on his chest, bills stacked on the table, debts quietly multiplying in the shadows. And no matter how hard he tries, the numbers never change. This is not just about money. It is about identity. The wound of being broke cuts deeper than the empty wallet. It whispers, you are not enough. You will never escape this cycle. And so, day after day, he plays the same silent role. The role of the struggler. The one who hopes, who waits, who says, one day things will be different. But Neville Goddard did not speak to the dreamer who waits. He spoke to the one who dares to awaken. He exposed that poverty is not an external condition, but an internal assumption. Listen carefully. If he believes himself poor, if he accepts that identity, the world will bend itself to confirm it. Because consciousness does not care about fairness. It only cares about what is assumed to be true. And here is the wound. Most people do not know they are assuming lack. They think they are manifesting wealth because they talk about it, visualize it, wish for it. But all the while, deep inside, they keep repeating the old story. I don't have. I can't afford. I am broke. It is like planting seeds of abundance in poisoned soil. No matter how much effort he puts into affirmations, the roots never take hold. Neville made it clear. The outer world is nothing more than the mirror of the inner world. To fight the mirror is useless. To complain about the reflection is madness. The only way to change the picture is to change the source. But what most people do is keep staring at the mirror, crying over what they see. They say, when I finally have money, I will feel secure. When I finally get rich, I will be confident. And yet, by waiting, they delay. By waiting, they confirm they are not there yet. This is why the struggle never ends. Because the man who waits for money to feel rich will always wait. The wound remains open, and the longer it stays open, the deeper the belief cuts into his soul. Until poverty is not just his condition, it is his identity. And identity is destiny. The fatal error of the law of attraction. He has read the books, he has watched the documentaries, he has repeated the phrases they told him to repeat. Money flows to me easily, I attract abundance. But still, his pockets remain empty. Why? Because the so-called law of attraction has been diluted, commercialized, and sold as a game of wishing. It has been presented as if the universe is a vending machine, and all he has to do is insert enough positive thoughts to receive a reward. Neville Goddard exposed the flaw in this thinking. The universe does not respond to repetition of words. It does not bow to begging. It mirrors only what is assumed as true. Here lies the fatal error. Most people are not attracting. They are waiting. They imagine abundance as something far away, something that will arrive someday. But in waiting, they declare silently, I do not yet have. I am not yet wealthy. And consciousness hears that declaration louder than any affirmation. Neville taught that desire alone keeps a man in chains. The more he desires, the more he confirms the absence of the thing desired. Wanting is not creating. Wishing is not assuming. The one who desires to be rich continues to live in the vibration of lack, because desire whispers, I do not yet possess. This is why he can visualize for hours and repeat affirmations until his throat is dry. Yet nothing changes. He is still rooted in the state of wanting. And wanting is poverty disguised as hope. Neville's words strike like a blade. You do not attract what you want, you attract what you are. To want wealth is to push it away. To assume wealth is to live it now. But most never cross that line. They are addicted to hoping because hoping is safe. It requires no transformation. It allows them to remain the same person while pretending change is on the horizon. This is the trap, the fatal error. The dreamer who only hopes is forever trapped in the dream of tomorrow. And tomorrow never comes. If this truth already feels different from everything you've heard before, subscribe right now, because the next chapters will go deeper, and you don't want to miss them. The unconscious is the bank of life. Every man carries a secret vault. It is not a vault made of steel, nor guarded by locks. It is the unconscious mind. And inside this vault lies the true balance of his life. Not the numbers in his bank account, not the money in his pocket, but the assumptions he has accepted about himself. Neville Goddard revealed a truth that still shocks those who hear it. The outer world is only the shadow of the inner world. What he holds in consciousness becomes flesh. What he accepts in imagination hardens into fact. The unconscious is the silent banker. It accepts every belief as a deposit, and it pays out in experiences, not in coins. If he assumes lack, the unconscious records it faithfully. If he assumes wealth, the unconscious records it just as faithfully. There is no judgment, no morality, no resistance, only reflection. And yet, most men spend their lives overdrawing from this inner account. They fill their unconscious with images of failure, thoughts of fear, and feelings of insecurity. Then they are shocked when their outer world mirrors bankruptcy. But how could it be otherwise? The world is the printout of the inner ledger. Consider this. When a man constantly says, I can't afford it, what is he depositing? When he looks at his bills with dread, what is he writing in the vault? When he envies the rich, secretly feeling small in comparison, what balance is he confirming? He is poor long before his wallet is empty. Because poverty is not a condition of money. It is a condition of assumption. Neville insisted that the key is to reverse the deposit, to fill the unconscious with a new state, the state of already being the one he wishes to be. It is not repetition that convinces the unconscious. It is feeling, the deep inner acceptance that says, this is who I am now. When that feeling becomes real, the unconscious rewrites the account, and life follows. So the question is not, how do I get money? The question is, what balance am I carrying in my unconscious right now? Because whatever is written there will soon be written in the world. The hidden self-image of poverty. A man may dress in fine clothes. He may smile, shake hands, and pretend confidence. But deep within, he carries an image of himself that never lies. This hidden self-image is the true architect of his life, and for many, it is an image of lack. Neville Goddard declared that the world is nothing more than the projection of self. Not the surface self that speaks words, but the inner self that silently believes. And if that inner self whispers, I am broke, then life will echo it back with ruthless precision. Here is the painful truth. Most men live with a secret identity of poverty. They may not say it out loud. They may even deny it. But when they see a price tag and feel a knot in their chest, the image is revealed. When they receive a bill and panic rises like fire, the image is revealed. When they dream of wealth, but instantly think, that's not possible for me, the image is revealed. The hidden self-image is a cage, and no amount of wishing can break its bars. Neville explained that man does not manifest what he wants. He manifests what he is. If he secretly believes himself small, unworthy, or poor, then even if money comes, it slips away. Because life is always faithful to the self-image. This is why lottery winners often return to poverty. Why sudden success fades. Because the outer gain was never supported by the inner assumption. The world bent temporarily, but the self-image pulled it back to match the inner state. So long as a man sees himself as broke, his outer world must prove him right. And here lies the turning point. He must dare to assume a new identity. Not in the future, not when the money comes. Now, to walk, breathe, and feel as though he already is the wealthy one. To replace the inner picture of fear with the inner picture of abundance. Not through force, but through assumption. Not through effort, but through acceptance. For when the hidden self-image changes, the world must obey. It cannot do otherwise. Because reality is not built from action. It is built from identity. And identity is simply the state he accepts as true. Pause for a moment. Ask yourself honestly, what is the self-image you've been carrying in secret? Share it in the comments, because the act of naming it is the first step to changing it. Neville's code, living in the end. Neville Goddard revealed a code so simple, most overlook it. He called it living in the end. What does this mean? It means assuming right now that the desire is already fulfilled. Not tomorrow, not someday, now. When a man desires wealth, he usually waits for money to prove it. But Neville turned the order upside down. He said, assume the feeling of already being the wealthy one, and let life rearrange itself to match. This is the code. Not waiting, but living. Not reaching, but resting in the finished state. Imagine for a moment. If he already were wealthy, how would he walk? How would he speak? What choices would feel natural? What worries would vanish instantly? Neville insisted that this inner shift is the true key. Because life mirrors states, not wishes. It reflects being, not asking. When a man begins to live in the end, he is no longer chasing money. He is embodying wealth. And wealth, like a shadow, follows. This is why Neville said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled and continue in that assumption until it hardens into fact. It is not about convincing the world. It is about convincing the self. Consider the difference. The poor man says, one day I will be rich. The awakened man says, I am already rich and life must show it. The first waits endlessly. The second commands reality through assumption. Living in the end is not fantasy. It is faith in action. Faith that refuses to beg because it knows the outcome is already secured. And here is the power. When a man accepts the end as real, he no longer clings to how it will happen. The how belongs to life. The end belongs to him. So he rests in the knowing. He acts from the state. He breathes as the one he has chosen to be. And soon, the outer world bends. Doors open, opportunities appear, resources gather, not by chance but by law. For the world cannot resist the man who lives in the end. It must bow to the state he embodies. The training of imagination. Neville Goddard called imagination the creative power of God within man. Not daydreams, not idle fantasy, but the living force that shapes reality itself. And like any power, it must be trained. Most men let imagination run wild in fear. They picture bills they cannot pay. They rehearse arguments before they happen. They imagine failure, rejection, and loss, and then wonder why life delivers exactly that. But Neville taught a different way. He insisted that imagination, directed with intention, is the secret workshop of creation. Whatever a man inwardly assumes as true, life will eventually present as fact. So how does one train imagination? First, by discipline. He must catch himself when he drifts into images of lack or fear. Instead of replaying the nightmare, he must learn to insert the dream. Instead of imagining struggle, he must imagine relief. Second, by feeling. Words alone do nothing. It is the sensation that impresses the unconscious. Neville advised entering into a drowsy state between waking and sleeping, and there constructing the scene that implies the wish fulfilled. Not watching it as a movie, but entering it as a participant. If he desires wealth, he must imagine holding the check, counting the bills, or receiving the congratulations. If he desires freedom, he must imagine walking freely, feeling the relief in his body. Whatever scene implies fulfillment must be lived inwardly, until it feels more real than the outer world. This is training, repetition, not of words, but of states, over and over until the new assumption becomes natural. And here lies the secret. Imagination is not pretending. It is choosing. It is planting the seed in the only soil that matters, the inner self. Neville warned that undisciplined imagination is ruin. For every fearful picture is also a prayer. Every anxious thought is also a command. But disciplined imagination is salvation. It is wealth, health, freedom, and joy, created from within and reflected without. So he must ask himself, what have I been training my imagination to expect? Poverty or abundance, fear or faith, loss or fulfillment? For whatever he rehearses inwardly, he is destined to perform outwardly. Proof in real life. It is one thing to hear philosophy. It is another to see it working in flesh and blood. Neville Goddard did not teach theories. He shared countless letters and testimonies from students who proved the law in their own lives. One woman, overwhelmed by debt, began to imagine every night that her purse was always full. She would close her eyes, feel the weight of coins and bills in her hand, and drift to sleep in that state. Within weeks, unexpected checks began to arrive. Opportunities opened. What looked impossible in logic became natural in experience. Another man, unemployed and desperate, applied Neville's method. Instead of repeating, "I need a job," he assumed the end. He imagined shaking hands with a new employer, hearing the words, "Congratulations, you're hired." Within a short time, the scene hardened into fact. He received the offer he had once only lived inwardly, and Neville himself told the story of imagining his trip from New York to Barbados. At the time, he had no ticket, no money, no possibility, but he entered the state of already being there. He felt the tropical air, heard the voices of family, and rested in the assumption. Soon, circumstances unfolded. A ticket appeared, and he was on the ship home. These are not accidents. They are demonstrations, proof that assumption creates reality. Skeptics will always say, coincidence. But the one who has lived it knows better. He knows that life bends when he bends his inner state. And so the challenge is given. Stop waiting for proof outside. Become the proof inside. Test the law for yourself. Dare to assume the end and watch as the outer world obeys. This is not reserved for the gifted or the chosen. It is the birthright of every man. Because every man carries the same creative power within, imagination. The only question is, will he use it deliberately, or continue to let fear use it for him? Neville left no doubt. He declared, "An assumption, though false, if persisted in, will harden into fact. This is the law waiting to be tested." If you are ready to test this law in your own life, subscribe right now, because the next videos will guide you deeper into Neville's most powerful methods, practices that can shift not only your finances, but your entire destiny. The shift of state. He has reached the end of the journey, and yet the journey is only beginning. For all along, the message has been clear. Poverty is not an outer condition. It is an inner state. Neville Goddard revealed that man lives not by the facts around him, but by the assumptions within him. And the world, with mechanical faithfulness, reflects those assumptions back. This is why he is still broke, not because opportunity does not exist, not because luck has abandoned him, but because his state has not changed. The law is merciless in its precision. It does not grant wishes. It reflects identity, and identity is chosen, moment by moment, by what he dares to assume as true. So here lies the challenge. Will he continue in the state of lack, waiting for wealth to appear before he feels secure? Or will he step into the state of abundance now, trusting the law to do what it has always done, to mirror back his assumption? The choice is his alone. No guru, no book, no ritual can make it for him. He must decide to live in the end, to train imagination, to rewrite the hidden self-image, to deposit a new balance in the bank of the unconscious. And as he does, life will bend, circumstances will shift, not by struggle but by law. Neville's words echo as the final note. Change your conception of yourself, and you will automatically change the world in which you live. This is the invitation, to stop hoping, to stop waiting, and to start assuming. For the state he chooses now will soon become the life he lives tomorrow. So, what state are you living in? Answer it honestly. because that answer is your future. If this video has opened your eyes, don't let the insight fade. Subscribe now, and in the next video we will uncover the hidden mistake that destroys most visualizations, and how to correct it in minutes. That single shift may change everything.